so good to be with you again today. Today it's about gold and cracks and Shin Jyutsu. Lessons for our lives. I want to talk to you about choices. Now, this is just a cup, and it has obvious cracks, and this cup is a representation for our choices in our lives. We can replace this cup with a new one, or we can make another choice. Just like this, we have choices for our well-being. I'll share two important lessons for our well-being in just a moment. But first, I invite you to look at the cup closely. The flaws or cracks aren't hidden, but instead, they're celebrated. Just one moment. This cup is repaired based on an ancient Japanese art that repairs broken cups with gold. And those flaws, those cracks, they're part of the story. Part of what makes the piece unique. And they glisten and catch the light. And the cup is more beautiful for it. So these scars, the beauty of them. We are more than our scars, but they are part of our story. They help the light to shine through and our beauty to show. Like the cup, we can have challenges, scars, and cracks. They're part of us. Some of them are visible, they're physical, and others aren't visible to the human eye. I was talking to a client the other day and I said, I always try and bring my hair down here because I have a little scar there. And she's like, really? I never noticed. But it's something that I'm very much aware of. So we all have these flaws and scars and cracks. And we don't need to hide them. They're part of what makes us unique. They're part of what we offer to the world. The life experiences that we've gone through, they give us insights. The learning that we've done through our lives gives us wisdom. And the improvements in our lives, things that we've worked really hard on, they allow us to guide the way for others. These scars are part of our strength. So the lessons from the scars. These scars are important as well for our own well-being for two important reasons. Even with our cracks and our challenges and our flaws, our bodies generally do a great job for us. It's because our bodies already know how to be well. Sometimes, though, they can get derailed, whether it's a passing comment by someone, it really throws you, or having a tough challenge in work, maybe family issues, or a niggling health worry. They call our attention and to help us. But one of the amazing parts is that these scars, they help us heal. When we get derailed, we can rejuvenate. And when we take care of things in our lives and take care of our bodies, it gives our bodies the space and support to access its innate ability to heal so we can feel better. After all, if you cut your finger, it's going to heal. and it will heal more quickly if you keep it clean and cover it with a plaster. So I'm going to talk a little bit with you before we actually get into practicing Shin Jyutsu about the mind-body connection. Because the second important lesson for us is that our experiences and our emotions affect us. It's all connected. For example, many of us have ongoing stress. I read a study recently that 7 out of 10 people are stressed at work. And this is what we're dealing with before we even toss in the added stress of a global pandemic and worries about our health in general, and all the other things that we're seeing on the news. So if you are feeling this way, you're not alone. Now the good news is that we can manage our stress and support our bodies to feel better. Now I invite you to just hold your thumb, right or left, just gently. You can place it in your lap and just relax. Maybe notice if you're feeling a bit tense right now, or a bit worried about something, or just kind of off. And just hold your thumb while you listen. A bit more about that mind-body connection. As a complementary therapist for the past 5 years, I've seen the effects of stress in my clients. And of course, I'm human, so I've experienced it in my own self. It affects our emotions, our behavior, our mind, our thoughts, and our body. Now, most often when we're in the middle of things, it can be difficult to make the connections between these challenges and the stress processes. But if we look beneath what we're conscious of, sometimes it helps. So to look at the stress responses, and if you've listened to one of my talks before, or you catch it on replay on the Energy Flows YouTube channel or on my website, you'll recognize this, because the stress responses, our bodies have a great way to help us. They know how to get busy when we need them to. Our bodies know how to slow down and recover when we need to, if we take the time and the care. This simple diagram shows a small part of the nervous system. We have the parts that we actually consciously control through our senses, and then the parts that are automatic. The automatic nervous system is what I want to focus in on today. And that takes care of all of our functions like breathing, heartbeat, chemical functions in our body. When we're stressed or engaged, the part of our autonomic nervous system that's engaged is the fight-flight section, and that's called the sympathetic nervous system. And that's turned on, and it gives us more energy. By increasing our heart rate, increasing the adrenaline, and increasing the cortisol, it helps us to get going and gives us more energy. And then on the flip side, we also need to repair the relax and heal part, the parasympathetic nervous system. I like to think about it a bit like our parachute. The parasympathetic nervous system is our parachute so that we don't crash and burn. This part of our autonomic nervous system gives our heart rate a rest. We have less adrenaline, less cortisol, and more relaxation hormones like oxytocin being produced. So all this is going on, and we're not even consciously aware of it. If we're stressed, we may notice our heartbeat going faster and our breath going faster. But there's so much more than what we're aware of, because our bodies are working with the things we need and the things that we're dealing with. So when we're talking about stress and all these things are going on in our bodies, where does it show up? Because when our stress goes unchecked even further and comes into a chronic state, chronic stress, we can end up with dis-ease in our bodies. It can be a label from our doctor, or it can just be not feeling well. One of the things that one client I had, she had a problem with her hair. It was thinning because she was so stressed that her hair was falling out. And there's so many other impacts from stress, whether it's our brain or our lungs and things like that. It's all connected. But even if you're suffering the effects of stress, tension, and worries, there's something we can do about it, because we are our bodies and it is all connected. So how can we repair those stress cracks? How can we feel better? Each of us has our own wisdom, and we can overcome the challenges and ease our discomforts. When we take care of ourselves, we repair the cracks in our lives. And it's likely different for each of us. Some common ones, and you probably have a good mix of things to support yourself already, whether it's going to an exercise class for Tai Chi or yoga or spinning, being out in nature, getting a treatment, laughing with a friend, or being creative. If you have a pen and paper to hand, or if you just want to make a mental note, I invite you to jot down 2 things that you're already doing for self-care. And maybe think about one more that you'd like to add. It's amazing how we can have so many choices and all that. So if we are stressed and tense and we're not able to take a break for doing those things, sometimes things can catch up with you. And I'll share an example of one of my clients. She had had a really tough month. I knew it as soon as she came in the door. She didn't even have to say anything, but it turns out during this month she'd put in a lot of hard work and gotten stuck in, and she solved the problem. But really, she was about done, just done in by it all. She felt better mentally, and she had things ticked off, but her body hadn't caught up. She was still in pain, and she wasn't sleeping well. Actually, she said she felt like she was at the end of her rope. And this meant she couldn't show up for her family and her friends like she always did. It suggested also that she had some deeper tensions in her body related to how it was functioning physically and energetically. When we're well, our energies are even and regular. When we're stressed or unwell, our energies can speed up, go in different pathways from how it normally is, or even get stuck. Often, energies do get stuck, and my client's energy, she didn't realize this, but they had gotten stuck in her back and her shoulders. She knew that she was out of sorts and that her shoulders were sore. So she set aside some time for self-care, and she booked a session with me. So a little bit more about these energies before we get into the Shin Jyutsu practice. These underlying energies, we all have them circulating through our bodies all the time. It's our energetic life force. These energies travel in specific pathways known as meridians, or in Shin Jyutsu we refer to them as energy functions. And you might have heard of the meridians from acupuncture and reflexology. They're very much the same in Jin Shin Jyutsu. And Jin Shin Jyutsu, I didn't mention this already. Jin Shin Jyutsu is a form of acupressure. So it's very closely aligned to acupuncture, but there's no needles. It's gently laying the hands on the body over the clothes. So if you're wondering about Jin Shin Jyutsu, that's what it is. It's complementary therapy that helps us to be well. Now, when we access these meridians in Jin Shin Jyutsu, we access them through specific areas on our bodies called safety energy locks. We have 52 of them on our bodies, 26 pairs, 26 on the left and 26 on the right. They're mirrored. Some are on the front of the body, some are on the back of the body, and they're from the top of our head all the way down to our big toes. Each of these safety energy locks has their own meaning and function within our bodies, and they each support us. So it's been said that when we have a sore place on our body, this is how I like to explain it. It's kind of like your body saying, "Excuse me, a little help here? I'm not doing great. Can you help me out?" And it's an early warning system for us so that we can improve our health before it snowballs and becomes a chronic label or stress. And in cases where we do have chronic labels and stress, we can unload the stress and the tension and the burden on our body, and it can access the ways to feel better. So getting back to my client, she came to see me. I have a practice in Maynooth, County Kildare. Here's a picture of it. And as my client entered the room, I invite you to see what she saw. Just imagine coming into a nice, quiet, calm room. You can see the plinth there with the nice, soft, cushy linens, and you slip off your shoes. You lie down on the table, get a nice warm fuzzy blanket if you like, or in hot weather times we don't put blankets on, and you just relax. I invite you, wherever you are, to just relax, get comfortable. Find a comfortable position, because at the moment there isn't anything you need to do, nowhere that you have to go. So relaxing, this is exactly what my client did. As she began relaxing on the table, letting go of the tension. I hold space for you to relax and to rejuvenate, and I support you as your body heals itself. As I gently placed my right hand on her shoulder and my left hand on her hip, I could feel the tension, a bit of chaos, and utter fatigue. I continued to stay there. And after a few moments, her tension started melting away. Going on with the time and the session, the breathing changes. It becomes slower and deeper, more regular. The face relaxes. If there's a wrinkle in the brow, it melts away. And the tension in the muscles soften. And that deeper tension and chaos that I mentioned is replaced by harmony and peace. It's always there, it just gets kind of buried under the tension. So we can take a few minutes now and do a bit of Jin Shin Jyutsu. Because one of my favorite parts about Jin Shin Jyutsu, and what drew me to it after exploring lots of complementary therapies, is that not only can you receive sessions from trained practitioners, you can help yourself. And by simply placing your hands on the body in certain places and in certain sequences, it can help you to harmonize your own body. So we can now unwind. If you've been holding your thumb, maybe notice how you're feeling. Has anything changed? Often, when we're feeling a bit broken and our cracks are more bothersome, we have some changes in our lives that we're trying to adapt to, whether it's a circumstance, an idea, or even someone. We're trying to adapt. Now, if we hold our collarbones, we can hold them like this, or just hold one, or hold both, or we can cross our hands. I tend to like to cross my hands. Holding our collarbones helps us to adapt. This is where the Safety Energy Lock 22 is located, and that helps us to support our adaptation. And just drop your shoulders. Breathe in and out gently. Although sometimes I remember when I'm stressed and someone would say to me, breathe gently and slowly. I'm like, I can't, I'm too stressed. And if you can't relax, just be present. Just be yourself. I find after a while it does ease. Normally when I'm holding a safety energy lock or a series of safety energy locks, I'll do it for 3 or 4 minutes or up to 20 minutes until I can feel the tension relax and just melt away. So you can come back to this hold whenever you want. And you'll be able to access replays. There's even a few blog posts on the Energy Flows website about the 22s. And I'm going to share with you a third way that you can help yourself. And this has to do with regaining connection. At times in my life when I felt broken or flawed, like those cracks are just too much, I've felt disconnected. Not a nice place to be. But really, underneath it all, we're still in one piece, even if we can't see that or feel that at the moment. And one of the key sequences or flows in Shin Jyutsu is the main central flow. We can connect with our unity through the main central flow. The first step is to put your right hand on your top of your head and your left hand just by your third eye or on your forehead. And just relax. This is the first of 7 steps. Now sometimes if people are having problems with their shoulders or something, they'll find that that's a bit uncomfortable. There's 7 steps and you can hold them all in sequence, or you can pick the one that you're most comfortable with. So as an alternative to stretching up that way, you can start by putting your right hand on your 22s like we did before, and then put your left hand on your breastbone in the middle of your chest. That's actually area 13. By doing this, it helps to bring you back to center, helps your energy to flow more freely, helps the energy to descend the front of the body, and to make space for us to be renewed. So if you want to see the other steps and all that, they are detailed on the Energy Flows website on the main central page. 7 easy steps to harmonize, to access harmony. I think I've also shared those on social media, so that's another place to look it up. So before and after Shin Jyutsu, relaxation, it's one of the best parts of Shin Jyutsu. And after a bit of Shin Jyutsu, whether we're holding our thumb, holding our 22s, doing the main central, or any of the other options that they have available, there's so many connections and options and relationships. This is just like the tiny little trailer for it. But after we do a bit of Shin Jyutsu, we can often feel a change. We may not be aware of the energy moving in our body. Some people are, and some people aren't. It took me years to feel the energy moving in my body. I'm like, yeah. But I know that I felt better, so I could see the value in it. But whether we're doing self-help or receiving a session from a practitioner, there's a change in our body, a change in the processes, a change in how the energy is flowing. And it supports our body so that we can feel better and so that it can function well. Because when the energy is flowing through our bodies, it helps to revitalize every cell, every organ, every tissue in our body. So thinking back to my client, after I went through all the energetic flows that were most useful to her personalized session, about an hour, I rang the bell and she woke from the session and she kind of came back into her body and she stretched. And then the very first thing she said to me was, I didn't know I was that tense. And maybe you feel that way too. When we get busy and we get tied up in things, we don't pay attention to how tense we are. I've been there. So check in how you're feeling. My shoulders are dropped a little bit. Some of the nerves from coming on to do a live are eased. And much like my client who said she was more relaxed, more calm, and more ready to face her day. And you know, as she left, she was more energetic, brighter, almost like she had a little bit of gold sparkle shining out. So just to wrap up our time, it's so important to know that there's hope for our challenges in our lives, and there is help. So I encourage you to celebrate your scars and your cracks. It really is part of what makes you unique and beautiful. And if you don't remember anything else from today, remember, your body knows how to be well. And by taking care of your body and our bodies and ourselves, the cracks and stress in our lives won't get in the way of our being well. If you'd like to experience more Shin Jyutsu or have questions, I offer sessions during the week, and you can see my contact details below. I'm going to go ahead and stop the live stream to Facebook, but I'll stay on in the Zoom meeting if you have any questions. And if there are questions for the Facebook viewers or those people watching it on replay, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll get back to you. Thank you for sharing a bit of Shin Jyutsu bliss. So anyone who's still in the Zoom room, I've enabled you to unmute if you have any questions or if you'd like to put it in the chat.